Imagine you're a 13th century European knight. You are a medieval tank, clad in the finest steel, riding a horse that costs more than an entire village. You feel invincible. And then you see this, a rider on an animal barely larger than a pony. It's shaggy, it's small, and frankly, it looks pathetic. You want to laugh. The Europeans did laugh, right up until they started dying by the thousands. We all know Genghis Khan conquered half the world, but almost no one understands how. How did an army with no supply lines and no heavy forges dismantle the greatest civilizations of the era? The secret wasn't just numbers or brutality. The secret was this rugged beast. The Mongolian horse isn't just a mount, it's a biological all-terrain vehicle. It runs on dead grass, thrives in sub-zero winds, and moves at speeds that seemed like teleportation to the medieval mind. Today, we strip down the engine of the Mongol Empire. It's the Ferrari of the Middle Ages versus the unbreakable off-roader of the steppe. Welcome to War Mechanics. Let's dive in. To understand why the Mongols flipped history on its head, forget everything you've seen in the movies about glamorous cavalry charges. In reality, it was a battle of concepts. On one side, the European destrier. This was the true tank of the Middle Ages, up to 160 centimeters at the shoulder, weighing nearly 800 kilograms. On top of that, you have a knight who, with armor and saddle, adds another 120 to 150 kilos. On the other side, the Mongolian horse. To be honest, a modern city dweller would likely call it a pony, standing only 130 to 140 centimeters tall. It looks stocky, often shaggy, and not majestic at all. But that was exactly the trap. Let's look at the numbers. The European warhorse is a sprinter. It's terrifying at the moment of impact when that mass hurtles toward you with a leveled lance. But it has an Achilles heel, its metabolism. A destrier requires premium oats and hay. If you don't feed it grain, it becomes a sluggish animal within a week of marching, and within 2 weeks it simply collapses. The Mongolian horse, however, is an absolute all-terrain vehicle. It is capable of covering 80 kilometers a day where a European army could barely manage 20. The secret is that the Mongolian horse doesn't need a supply train for food at all. These animals know how to forage for themselves even in winter, literally digging up dry grass from under the snow. This is called tebenyovka. And here is the main physical advantage: ground pressure. Thanks to their wide hooves and light weight, the Mongolian cavalry flew across marshy terrain where heavy knights sank to their knees, turning into stationary targets. Imagine this. You're in a heavy, expensive Ferrari that's stuck in the first puddle you hit, while a gang on light dirt bikes who couldn't care less about the lack of roads circles around you. The knight had one chance, to land one massive blow. The Mongols, however, had the time and an endless supply of stamina to ensure that blow never landed. 1241. Poland. The European nobility is about to learn a lesson in the art of distance killing. The knights are used to an honest fight, a head-on collision where the strongest armor and heaviest horse win. But the Mongols refuse to play by those rules. As soon as the knightly wedge accelerates for the strike, the Mongol cavalry simply turns and flies away. The knights, furious, scream "cowards" and give chase. This is the famous feigned retreat, and it is a fatal mistake. The Mongol horse is the key here. While a heavy horse gasps for air under a 150-kilogram rider after a few kilometers of galloping, the Mongolian horse is just getting started. The Mongols lead a carousel. They lure the knights onto marshy ground or narrow passes. Once the formation is stretched and the knights' horses are wheezing with exhaustion, the trap snaps shut. Mongol riders use the Parthian shot. At full gallop, they turn 180 degrees in the saddle and fire an arrow with pinpoint accuracy. They don't need to stop. Their horses are so stable the riders can drop the reins and shoot with both hands. This wasn't a battle. It was a driven hunt. The Mongols didn't treat the knights like warriors. They treated them like dangerous but very slow prey. 10 minutes of this chase and Europe's elite was turned into a pile of scrap metal stuck in the mud. The Mongols' greatest victory wasn't won in the heat of battle, but during the march. While any European army was tied to supply wagons filled with grain, the Mongols traveled light. Every warrior had a string of 3 to 5 horses. While one mount carried the rider, the others rested. This allowed the army to move almost 24/7, swapping horses mid-stride. It was a medieval highway. Their speed was so incredible that enemies often thought they were fighting demons capable of teleporting. And what did they eat? The Mongol army was a self-sustaining ecosystem. The horses provided everything. Their primary diet was kumis, fermented mare's milk. It's nutritious, vitamin-rich, and doesn't spoil easily. In extreme campaigns, a Mongol could make a small incision in a horse's vein and drink some blood. This didn't kill the animal, but gave the rider the strength to cover dozens more kilometers. Then there is Tebenyovka. In 1237, the Mongols invaded Rus during the winter. For European-style cavalry, this would have been a death sentence, but Mongolian horses are used to minus 40 degrees. They simply dug through the snow with their hooves to find grass. Each horse was an autonomous bio-robot. Batu Khan's army didn't need roads. Frozen rivers became their perfect highways. While Europe waited for spring to start a war, the Mongols used winter as their greatest advantage. So who won in the end? In the short term, discipline and steel. But in the long run, it was biology and endurance. The little shaggy ponies proved more effective than noble destriers for the same reason an AK-47 is more effective than a high-maintenance rifle. They worked always, everywhere, and in any conditions. The Mongolian horse wasn't the fastest or the strongest. It was the most adaptable. It was on the backs of these hardy animals that the largest contiguous land empire in history was built, from the Sea of Japan to the Danube. History isn't just about heroes, it's about logistics. And in this game, the Mongols checked the king of Europe simply by choosing the right partner. If you enjoyed this tactical breakdown, hit the like button. It's the best way to say thanks for our work on this video. But horse endurance is only half the story. In the next episode, we'll analyze the ultimate nightmare of medieval generals, the feigned retreat. How did the Mongols force their enemies to break formation even when they knew it was a trap? Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. This is War Mechanics. See you in the depths of history.